Hey everybody, Stu Smith here going live, and today we are going to hopefully fix somebody's combat swimmer stroke. That's what today is. Today is Tuesday, and it's my weekly CSS critique show along with a live Q&A on the back end. So as you guys congregate, I got to thinking, if you guys are watching this or read my articles or have my programs, you're probably somewhat interested in advanced level fitness, that will help you crush fitness tests, maybe get through boot camp or basic training, or even beyond that into like special ops selection programs. And you may be interested in a variety of branches of the military, and you're not quite sure which one's the right fit for you: Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine, Coast Guard, or maybe even federal law enforcement. There's many ways to serve police and fire departments, many ways to serve your community and country. And just considering it, I first say thank you, because we need more people to consider that as an occupation, or at least beginning of their life training. You may not make it a career, but you'll be glad you did it when you're young and able and have some skills that can help you with the rest of your life. You know, especially if we have the global apocalypse, you want some certain skills. So, but my quick answer for you guys that are on the fence about, especially about what branch of service or how you want to serve, is, to be honest with you, there's no one size fits all answer. Um, every job in the tactical profession has its own unique requirements and standards, um, and challenges to that profession as well. But there's some definite commonalities across the board. And if you want to increase your chances of success, there's a few things you need to understand. First and foremost, these jobs are not for everybody. You really need some sort of calling to serve, right? It's not a job for those that like can't find another job. So why I'm just going to join the military or go be a police officer. It's probably the last thing you want to do, because it's such a demanding profession that if you're not into it, it's going to crush you in some fashion and you're going to hate it. Um, so, if you have that calling and you want to serve, great, go do it, right? But if you don't and it's a last resort and you can't find anything else to do, give it a try, and I hope it works out for you. I've seen some people that are in that situation and it works, but I've also seen a lot of people in that situation where it did not work for them and they wound up hating it, and are probably the worst examples for anybody who has served. Um, and they will tell you real quickly how much they hated it and how much it sucked, and they got nothing out of it because you didn't really take advantage of what's available to you. I've seen people get out of absolute despair in their current living conditions just to get out of their hometown and their situation and turn their life around to a point where they had college paid for, they made it a career, they found a second career afterwards, and you know moving right along fine in this life. So there's opportunities out there for everybody. You just gotta do it. So you need to be physically fit, mentally tough, somewhat intelligent, or at least able to learn new skills. You might not be that book smart, but as long as you have the ability to learn new skills and be resourceful, um, and quick decision making, being able to think on your feet, those are great skills to have, and you can develop them too. While you're going through this journey. But if you take it to a next level and you think you want to be a spec ops guy, you just have to realize that process of preparing to go there is grueling and time consuming. Going through the course itself is going to be equally or even more so grueling. And the days will turn into nights, and you will be uncomfortable and you will be tired. That is part of this process. If you want to be part of that group that challenges themselves to be able to get through that, you'll be stronger on the back end of it. If you do, especially if you make it. So, I think if you're on that fence, my recommendation is take some time and really prepare yourself. And as you see yourself progress and become in better shape than you've ever been in your life, you will gain some confidence in your abilities, and that will help you pull the trigger finally and go do that job. So with that, I'm going to take some questions. I do have some videos to show you. I don't see any questions popping up, but that's all right. I will go ahead and share a video of the first submitted CSS, and I guess we'll start off with combat swimmer stroke with a pair of scuba fins. So let's see how this looks. Now, one of the common issues a lot of people have when they swim with scuba fins is they bend their knees too much and they're almost bicycling. Looks like you're riding a bicycle, and the fins are not very effective when you do it that way. So you got to really focus on the hips, and those hips, your legs don't have to be perfectly straight. They can have a slight bend in them, but you're fully moving your legs, whether that's through a scissor kick or a bunch of little flutter kicks that are medium range flutter kicks. So let's see what we have here. Gotta move this up a little. All right, so big kick off the wall. Got some dolphin kicks. I usually do this dolphin kick thing like 2 or 3 times just to get some momentum off the wall, because you'll see once you get these big fins on that it's very awkward kicking off the wall and going anywhere. It's like you don't go anywhere, right? It's a weird kickoff. So get a couple dolphin kicks in there, get your momentum, be streamlined, and then come up to breathe. But you don't want to do it for too long because there's no walls out in the middle of the ocean. So you definitely need to not do it too much, but do it enough to where you're at least turning around, getting some momentum going. So if you notice, this is really the same stroke that we do without fins. Got a big scissor kick, kind of holds the glide, but with fins, you want to take advantage of them. So constantly flutter kick. When I tell people to just do one kick and glide without fins, that does not apply to when you're swimming with fins. As you can see right here, top arm, bottom arm, kick, 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 kick. That's how you do it. That's the only way you're going to get through currents that may be, one knot currents that are very common, whether they're tidal currents or just speed of the ocean moving. Could be from the wind or whatever. You're not going to get through them. 1, without fins. 2, with very flexible fins, like the kind I like to use to slip on my feet. Those are great. However, the only guys that are getting through 1.5 knot currents are the guys with the big rocket fins or jet fins. Or you're going to just be doing freestyle if you're going to do it. I mean, you can't do freestyle at some of these trainings. So, yeah, that's a good CSS with fins. I like that. I didn't see anything wrong with that. You can mix it up a little bit too. Throw in some dolphin kicks if you prefer, especially when you get into the 3,000, 4,000 yards of swimming. People ask, like, what's a good pace for your combat swimmer stroke with fins? And I try to get it the same pace I do without fins. And you may find that you're going to be a little slower with fins compared to without fins in the pool. don't let that bother you too much. For instance, if I'm hitting like an 8-minute swim without fins, I'm going to shoot for anywhere between an 8 and 8:30 with fins, because that's going to give me a 16 to 17-minute 1,000. And if you continue that math out, throughout 4,000 yards, which is 2 nautical miles, you're going to be at the hour 5-minute range, hour 10-minute range, which is 70 minutes. And the minimum standard for first phase 4,000 yard swim in the ocean is 85 minutes. So if you can pull a 70, you're going to be in the top 10% of the class. There will be guys in the 60s that are crushing that swim. If you can do that, that's great too. But if you're maintaining that close to yard per second pace, you're going to be in that zone. Because if you can hit 16 minutes per 1,000, stretch that out to an hour. That's an hour and 4 minutes, so 64-minute 4,000. It's pretty good, right? And it's doable. So my suggestion would be somewhere between the 70-75-minute mark for a 4,000. Back that time out to 1,000, and you're in that 18. You're under 20 minutes per 1,000, because you don't want to be flirting with 80 too much, because that's going to be the second phase time that you need to be. And if you get a bad current, or you get you're not swimming straight, you can fail that test real easy if you're flirting with those minimums, even by 5 minutes. Okay, questions. If someone is aerobically deconditioned, underconditioned, should they devote their first 12 weeks of training to aerobic development by doing long, steady state work instead of HIIT? That's a way to do it. It also depends on what you're training for. Are you training for cross country? Are you training for jobs that are a lot more than just aerobic? Because you need some anaerobic, you need some strength training, you need some muscle stamina. So there's a lot you need to figure out how to juggle versus just getting good at running slow. That's my hit on that kind of training advice. There's nothing wrong with it. It definitely works. Most people that do the aerobic base training are probably runners in the first place, or swimmers too. And they just do lots of volume, and they get their aerobic base, and then they've created this aerobic base, and now they get faster. A lot of people who are not used to running cannot handle that kind of impact for long, slow distances, doing 10-mile runs super slow, right? You need to progress logically to that. So I personally start them off with shorter, faster runs, and then do the aerobic based training on non-impact machines, whether that's a bike with high resistance or swimming with fins, something that works the legs and the lungs together. Is the way I like to do it. But remember, I am focusing more on a tactical athlete, maybe somebody who's not a runner, who needs to run, versus somebody who is built to run and is going to compete in a running sport, right? There are some similarities, but there's some big differences too, because those runners don't need to be lifting weights and doing a lot of calisthenics and adding swimming to the workouts and adding rucking to the workouts, right? There's a lot more things that you have to get good at versus being great at when you're doing athletics. Because that's kind of the difference between athletics and tactical athletics. In athletics, you got to be great in order to make the team in a few things, right? If you're a track guy, you need to be great at running. Don't need to be great at anything else. right? Or good at anything else with the depending on your event. But if you're a tactical athlete, you need to be good at running and rucking and swimming and calisthenics and weightlifting, load bearing, flexibility, mobility. All of those are very important to the tactical athlete. So, once again, it depends on what you're training for. What scores on the PST do you see guys get in order to make it to SOAS? We had 4 guys that are SOAS candidates from OCS, and then I see probably 25 guys that are SOAS candidates from the Naval Academy, and they're 2 different groups. Naval Academy, it's a lot more competitive to get to SOAS because you're going to have 100 people trying to get 50 slots to go to SOAS. So theirs are going to be off the charts. Like, think about the best scores you can get. It's going to require that. For the OCS guys, it's still competitive, but those scores are typically in the, if you can break 8 minutes on the swim, you're way above average. Most people are in the 8:30 range on the swim, sub 9 on the run, 80 to 100 push-ups and sit-ups, and 15 to 20 or 20 plus, if you want to be on the high end, of pull-ups. Those are typical. The OCS candidates or officer candidates that go to BUDS or to SOAS are competing for so many fewer slots that they have to really score a lot higher because they need 10 times as many enlisted guys as they do officers going there. So that is just a factor that requires you to be a little more competitive with your other classmates or the other candidates. Is a recon ruck run with a rifle? Yes. Pretty much every ruck run I've ever done was with a rifle. Well, I mean, what's the point? All right, let's do another swim exercise. In fact, you know what? This is a follow-up. I don't know if I showed this one last week or I did it on TikTok. I can't remember. But anyway, check this out. He resubmitted after I told him it was the worst case of popping your head up I've ever seen. So it's basically he was doing a side stroke that looked like a breaststroke, where your whole body comes out of the water. That's what his side stroke looked like. So let's see his part 2 fixing of it. All right, so top arm, bottom arm, kick and glide. So not bad, but notice this here, right? You're still swimming like this, right? So if I'm laying down, let me see if I can do it. If I'm laying down like this, I want my head to kind of relax on my arm, not be swimming like this. So you're still got a kink in your neck. And I guarantee you, if you did that for a mile, your neck would be hurting at the end of it. So don't swim like you got a kink in your neck when you swim. Just relax your neck, put it on your elbow or put it on your bicep or shoulder while you're in that bottom arm, that glide position. Just relax that top arm and then kick and glide, right? I think you're getting closer to getting more comfortable breathing, but you got to relax that head and neck. Whenever you turn to breathe, you don't need to kink your neck to breathe. Okay. Now, something I did notice in here, looks like you have 2 kicks going on. So you got a kick and glide there, which is really good. I like that. So decent kick. Let me see what's going on. So you got a decent kick and glide there. Not bad, but why are your legs open when you're also pulling your top arm, right? It looks like you're kicking again. You are, but it's a different kick. You do a breaststroke kick for the stroke, and then you do a scissor kick with your top arm pull. Not sure why you're doing that. See that? So you got two kicks. So you got a breaststroke kick there and a scissor kick there. That's not how you do it. You got two. You can only kick once in this stroke. But I will say, 10 times better than what you submitted before. So good kick off the wall. You can go a little longer. So you got a breaststroke kick there and you got a scissor kick there. You need to figure out which one you like better. Do you like your scissor kick better or do you like your breaststroke? I'm thinking your okay, there's a scissor kick. So you're kind of inconsistent with your kicks. I think you need to figure out what kick you're trying to do here. Do this one more time. You can definitely hold the glide off the wall for at least, if you get a good strong kick here and you put these biceps on your ears and like really hold a streamlined body position, right? Actually put it back here. Like biceps behind your ears, lock out those arms, hold that glide for like 4 Mississippis before you even do an arm pull. You're going kick off the wall and you're going 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi. Like if you just hold that glide a little longer, you'll go another body length easy. Top arm, bottom arm, kick and glide. That's good. Really good. I like that. You can still pop your head up a little too much. But notice this, as soon as that top arm goes, you kick again. So there is something that is tied to your top arm and your legs. And I don't know why that happens. Sometimes it would be fine if you were doing freestyle because there's nothing wrong with pulling and throwing a little kick in there, kind of a rotational kick whenever you pull an arm, throw a leg kick in there, pull an arm, throw a leg kick, constant flutter kick, whatever. But you can't do this during CSS. I personally would probably take out this breaststroke. I don't think your breaststroke is good enough to add it to your stroke. It looks like your scissor kick is better and more natural kick for you than your breaststroke kick. So try a scissor kick first and go from there. So good improvement. That's 1 week. So good job. I'm pretty sure I can't remember if I put him on this show or if I put him on TikTok. I don't think I would have put him on TikTok because it was just so bad that maybe I did. I don't know. All right. So during the swim, is it legal to continue flutter kicking after the initial scissor kick in the CSS? Does it have to be 1 scissor kick per stroke? Is it legal? Good question. It depends. Really kind of depends on the instructor who's grading your test. Technically, no, it is not. But most people don't care or even know that it is. I care not because that it's illegal. I care that it is a complete waste of energy. And I counted one day, I was bored given a 500-yard swim test, and this guy was kicking, and he decided not to listen to me during his PST. And I said, "You're kicking too much, just kick and glide." And the habit was so ingrained, he couldn't stop it. So I counted his flutter kicks just for the hell of it. And I counted 550 flutter kicks in a 500-yard swim. So you tell me, did that affect his hip flexors for the sit-up test? Did that affect his legs for the run afterwards? Yes. The answer is yes, it did. His sit-ups and his runs sucked compared to what he normally could do fresh. So that is why I recommend not do a lot of flutter kicks in between. It's a waste of energy. And most non-swimming athletes that do it are pretty inefficient with their flutter kicks anyway. So I wouldn't even try to practice them. In fact, if you want to test it out, here's what I would say to show you how hard they are on you. Kick off the wall, underwater, streamline. Don't do a breaststroke pull out. Just stay in the glide position and see how far you can flutter kick across the pool. before you have to come up to breathe. And most people can't make it halfway across the pool doing that because one, their flutter kicks are ineffective, and two, it wastes a lot of oxygen and it increases your heart rate too much. So that's a long answer to your question. I just wouldn't do them. You know, unless you're a swimming athlete and you've been kickboarding with flutter kicks and you can probably swim faster than most non-swimming athletes by just you holding a kickboard out in front of you and flutter kicking, only then will your flutter kick be efficient enough. And you be in the type of shape that can handle it. All right. For SOAS applicants, I heard SEALs are a must-have for letters of recommendation, but I don't know any personally. Will civilian service members and others know me personally be sufficient? Yes, they are not a must-have. I will say that right now. I remember being on these boards, and I would prefer someone who actually knows you versus somebody you met for 10 minutes and they write a letter of recommendation for you. I think that's just I just don't think it's effective. In fact, I've even called a guy who wrote a letter of recommendation for a guy, and I said, "How well do you know this guy?" You wrote a letter of recommendation for him. Nice letter. Thank you for your time to do that. I appreciate it. But how do you know this guy? Oh, I just met him, in a restaurant, and then we had about a 30-minute conversation, and I told him I'd write a letter of recommendation for him. I would say that it's okay, but most people looking at it on the board will know if somebody knows you or not. Like I wrote a letter recommendation for a guy who just so happened to be in my neighborhood since he was 11 years old. And he, made it to SOAS and OCS selection and things like that. And I'm able to talk in a way that I've known this guy for a decade, right? And that means something to the board versus, hey, I had a talk with this guy and we had an interview and he's a good guy. Kind of shallow. So my suggestion is get people you know. Like I had a neighbor do mine who was a veteran. I had my preacher do it, and I had a coach do it. So there you go. All right. I don't see any other questions. Let's see. Let me share another one. I think this may be one I might have done because I saw it on a earlier one. I think we did this one, or I did it on Instagram, TikTok. All right. So what do we have here? Top arm, bottom arm, kick, hold the glide. Hey, that's not bad. Top, bottom, kick. Good. No, this isn't bad. He likes to stay on his side the whole time. Nothing wrong with that. You don't have to roll over on your belly. Top arm, bottom arm. Oh, yeah. Needs to work on that turnaround. Just be aware of the turnaround. You could have reached out there and grabbed it a little earlier, but that's a minor critique. So top arm, bottom arm, kick, 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, pull. Yeah, you're right there. Yeah, you got everything down. This is actually pretty good. Top arm, bottom arm, kick and glide. Your head stays down. Look how his head stays down. Just watch this coming back. And notice when he's breathing, I mean, that's half his face right there. That's all you see. Just enough to get his mouth out of the water. His head's relaxed. He's not kinked up like this. He's just kind of rotating a little bit, maybe turns his head just a little bit, but he's not turning it, kinking it up. I like this. That's good. All right. Let's see. You guys ask some more questions. I don't have any more videos. I may have to show you a TikTok if you don't ask any questions. So if you guys are not familiar with my page devoted solely to me critiquing the CSS, check out my TikTok, StuSmith50. It's really good. I mean, everybody that I talked to was like, "Why are you doing a TikTok with nothing but CSS on there?" I was like, "Because I don't care about TikTok." And oh no, can you guys see this? I'm trying to share it. There you go. So I'm not trying to build a TikTok channel. I just want to have a platform where I can just put everything, have a voiceover app that's enables me to do it. And if you don't want to download TikTok app on your phone, I get it. Chinese app, don't do it. What I do is I just use it on the computer. So it's just a website. You look up here, that's TikTok.com at StuSmith50. Boom, right? That works. Yeah, I don't think I've posted any bad ones recently. Posted this is one of my favorites. This CSS
Hey everybody,
here.
this is Stu Smith with another CSS.
Notice his he uses more of a breaststroke kick than he does a scissor kick. But he gets really far with it. That's 2 strokes, 3 strokes. Look at that glide. I mean, he's like a half a stroke. So 3.5 strokes to get across the pool in about 17 seconds. So his 25 is probably around, or I'm sorry, his 50 is probably around 42, I think it was when we timed it. That's a 7-minute pace right there. Yeah, like if you want to see a perfect CSS, this is it. CSS without fins. Now, I don't do a breaststroke kick. I do a scissor kick. In fact, I'll show you. So I think mine's probably oh man, on my phone you can see it, but it's probably all the way down here. But look at all these. Got tons of them. There you go. So this one's mine here. So notice I will do a scissor kick when I turn to breathe or kick versus a breaststroke kick. So top arm, bottom arm, kick, 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, pull. There you go. Do a quick turnaround. One little quick breath. So top arm, bottom arm, kick. That's a scissor kick, not a breaststroke kick. So there you go. Hope that helped you. Oh, thank you, Tom. I didn't think anybody got that one. So I showed a picture one morning. We were running, and it was like a perfect clear morning, but it was pitch black, and you could see all the stars, and you could see Orion up there, and you got Orion's belt. There's an old time joke. If you want to listen to a dad joke, it goes, yeah, there's Orion's belt up there. It's a big waste in space, right? Okay. And then you say, I give that joke 3 stars. But bump. It's a classic, right? Classic dad joke. I'm glad you appreciated that, Tom. I thought it went over everybody's heads. Nobody commented on the how good that joke was. So I appreciate it. Glad you liked it. Are sit-ups and half sit-ups considered advanced exercises? Only if you have a bad back. I place them in my advanced side just because a lot of people who have weak core could probably only do a few crunches and can't do sit-ups, so I make them advanced. So when you say, are they considered? I consider them. Some people may not. You may not, Joe. I don't know. Do you consider them advanced ab exercises? Can you do 100 in 2 minutes? If you can't, then I would say they are an advanced exercise for you. Mr. Smith, when you're a strength athlete, should you wait until losing weight before talking to a recruiter or go sit down with a recruiter while the process of losing weight? Well, here's the deal. no recruiter is going to take you seriously if two things. One, you're out of shape and you can't pass the PST. I'm assuming you're trying to do something along the um, lines of spec ops training. I don't know. If you're just going regular Army or Navy, Air Force, doesn't matter. If you're going Marine Corps, probably need to have your stuff together because that's a hard boot camp. But if you're trying to do a spec ops job, you don't need to be talking to a recruiter until you can crush the PST, period. And if you don't meet the height weight standards or at least the body fat standards, no recruiter is going to take you seriously. So when you try to call them back, they may not get back to you for a week or so. But if you go in there, meet the standards, crush the PST, guess what happens? They call you. They take you a little more seriously, right? Unfortunately, there are hundreds of people every year who go to BUDS, who go to the recruiter in that condition, and it takes them months in delayed entry program to just pass the PST. Then they show up at prep after boot camp after getting even more out of shape. They show up at prep, can't even pass the PST, so their spec ops dreams are done before they even started. Then, if they just so happen to make it past the PST there, they get through prep and then they have done nothing to prepare themselves for the actual events that are at BUDS, which is longer runs, longer swims with scuba fins, load bearing, really intense those first 4 weeks. And if you've done nothing but just push ups, sit ups, mile and a half run, and swim 500 yards prior to that, you're not ready to get through. And unfortunately, that is about 90% of the attrition rate are young people that don't understand what getting to and through the training means. So the quick answer is it depends on what you're training for. The little bit longer answer is if you are preparing for spec ops, then I wouldn't talk to a recruiter until you are ready to join and meet the standards. What do you think of declined sit-ups to help out with regular sit-ups, weighted with a plate? I've done those. I don't know if they're bad for your back. I guess they could be, depending on how high you hold the plate. I don't know. I tend to just focus on a couple of different exercises to prepare myself for sit-ups. Those are sit-ups, flutter kicks, hanging knee ups, and plank pose. I think if you mix those into your training pretty regularly, your sit-ups are going to get easier. Your back's not going to hurt because you've actually done some work that not only stretches your lower back and flexes your hip flexors, like the hanging knee ups, but you've also done some core stability exercises to one, make you better at push-ups, two, as well as sit-ups. Do they do hanging knee ups at BUDS? Sometimes, but it's not that hard. You know, sometimes they'll, after a set of pull-ups, they'll do some hanging knee ups, but it's not something that is overly challenging. I like to do them because they are just another way to stretch. There's another way to work your hip flexors for when you are preparing for sit-up tests that are just a different variety of hip flexor activity. And it work your grip too. So multiple reasons why I like those hip hanging knee ups or leg tucks in the Army, which they got rid of for the ACFT. Let's see. How would you build your endurance and strength for pull-ups? I can do 15 at 200 pounds. That's good. I've been doing pull-ups, sit-ups, push-ups, and prep for the PST. I just have to push out the last 5. Well, 15 is fine. You need to be able to do 15 after a swim. That's important. But the way I do it is I do pull-ups, push-ups, sit-ups every other day when I'm focusing on the PST. So 3 days a week. In fact, I'm going to show you 3 favorite workouts to crush fitness tests. One is a PT pyramid on Monday, a sub max rep superset on Wednesday or Thursday, depending on how you feel after the Monday one. And then Saturday, I usually do a max rep set workout. So I'll set up 100 pull-ups and I try to do that in as few sets as possible, resting with other activities like push-ups, sit-ups, and maybe a quarter-mile run. So that is my rest before I do pull-ups again. So it's a very active rest. You're constantly moving, and it's a really good challenge to see if you can basically treat it like a Murph. 100 pull-ups, 200 push-ups, 300 sit-ups in as few sets as possible, right, in a circuit, and you run a quarter mile after all 3 of those every time you go through all 3 exercises. So I've seen guys do it in like 4 sets pretty regularly. 5 sets are pretty common. 6, not bad. But if it takes you over 10, then you need to work on your muscle stamina. Those 3 workouts there will help you with your muscle stamina. You already have the strength to do pull-ups. You just need to turn a strength exercise into an endurance exercise to get 20 pull-ups. If you want, something I also like to do on that Wednesday workout with the sub-max reps, if you want, you can add a weight vest to that, maybe like a 20-pound weight vest, just to add some variety and challenge yourself. Hang on a second. What program would you recommend for staying in SEAL shape after finishing the 12 weeks to BUDS? Good question. I would say, one, it depends. It depends on what your athletic history is. If you're already a strength athlete and you don't need to lift, then I would probably bypass the lift cycle and do another cycle of this. This is phase 2 and 3. It's a 12-week plan. Takes you from post complete guide to Navy SEAL fitness and ups at a level. However, if you're feeling pretty good with your aerobic base, your swimming, your running, and your calisthenics at the end of that 12 weeks, and you think you need to add some lifting to it, this is a great one too, because this is a way to add lifting three weeks in a row, and then 1 week you fall back to like a PST cycle. Like something very similar would be a week of those 3 workouts I just shared, along with more running and swimming and things like that, leg days and stuff that are mainly calisthenics, not weightlifting, just to maintain your endurance and muscle stamina. So it's kind of a block periodization model where you do 3 weeks of lifting, focus on strength, 1 week of deload from the lifting, and you do some cals and cardio. This one was surprisingly really good. In fact, I want to show you something because I just got the cover back on my new winter lift cycle, and I want to show it to you because at the end of this month, well, at the end of October, this will be available, right? So I'm not going to start my winter lift cycle until damn it, all these banners up there. I'm not going to start my winter lift cycle until December. Probably even maybe the week after Christmas, we'll start our winter lift cycle. But this is what it's going to be. And the cool thing about this is it's going to have a similar block periodization model to this, but it's going to be a little more structured in a way that the first 4 weeks are focusing on lighter weight, more reps. So we can really fine tune some technique stuff in there. And then the middle 4 weeks will be like 5x5s or 3x8. So it's going to keep that rep range between 5 and 8. And then the last 4 weeks are going to take that rep range and drop it down to 1 to 3, maybe 5 at the most. So it's going to be heavier weight, fewer reps. Those 3-4 week cycles with a deload week before each one of them. And then that 13th week, we'll probably do a little testing just to see where we are after that heavier lift cycle. And typically what happens when you mix it in that block periodization model like that is that you do get stronger. You do put on some weight. Like we had a few guys put on 10, 15 pounds, got, stronger on their body weight bench press. They got stronger on their deadlifts, squats, hang cleans, stuff like that. Dumbbell work, overhead presses, things like that. But they also were able to not only just maintain their PST scores, but actually improved on many of the events of the PST, which was kind of shocking because normally in the winter phase, I'm not really concerned about that. But because we added that 4th week maintenance, we saw improvements on some of those high rep scores, especially, and even some faster runs. That was a little unexpected. So that is a block periodization model for a winter lift cycle. I'd recommend that if you need to consider lifting and just get ready for regular load bearing stuff, which is, the first 4 weeks of buds is a lot of load bearing, boats, logs, people, soft sand running just sucks on the legs. Let's see here. Let's see. What would you estimate the buds attrition rate for 22-year-old guys that can hit everything on your how good is good enough? Very low. Extremely low. However, I will say, we have had guys go there, crush just about everything. I mean, like never fail anything, be top 10% of runs and swims, and then some reason they changed their mind and now they're doing EOD. Nothing wrong with EOD, and there's nothing wrong with changing your mind. Especially when you're seeing, your exposure to the community, on and how hard it is to get there. I'm not sure what, propelled them to quit physically. They had no reason to, but it's way more than physical, right? And that's something that is really kind of uncoachable. It's really how bad do you want to do this job and what are you willing to endure with discomfort and negative feedback from instructor staff. What can you handle, really? And can you handle the grind that is spec war training? 6'1", 145, hard gainer. What weight do you need to be successful at buds? You know what? I wrote an article on that. Damn, that's some serious low body weight. I'd put on some body fat for sure. I know you're a hard gainer, but you got to eat more. And it's not just protein, it's carbs. I mean, usually hard gainers, I got to ask this too, JT. Are you young? Are you still a teenager with that type of body? Probably haven't finished growing yet. Maybe you finished growing in height, but maybe not in mass. My suggestion would be if you want to put on some weight, you need to eat big and lift big. And that means, you're going to have a hard time metabolizing a lot of protein. So protein isn't your answer. You still need protein, you need fats, but you need a lot of carbs. That means milkshakes at the end of dinner, peanut butter and banana sandwiches before you go to sleep with a big glass of milk. Chow down, because that's pretty skinny. If you have some strength tied into that, it's a different story. But if you're pretty weak in that, I wouldn't go to buds at that weight. I'd try to at least get up to 175, 180 at 6'1". I was like just under 6'1" and 195 going through. And we had some guys my height, probably about 185, that did really well. Like those extra 10 pounds for me were, I didn't feel like I was getting crushed under a boat or a log. Just made running a little harder, but I was really good at the O course. So, everybody has their strengths and weaknesses when they go there. Being a very light person, your weaknesses are going to be exposed every day of those first 4 weeks. Afterwards, the good news is there's no more boats, there's no more logs. You got some scuba tanks you got to carry around in second phase, and you have some rucks to do in third phase. But other than that, it's not that tough. But those first 4 weeks are going to crush you. I actually wrote an article about what's the ideal weight for buds. Let me see if I can find it. Even wrote a chart for it. Ideal weight for buds. Is this the best height and weight for buds? Oh, yeah, this is what I did here. Yeah, cool. It's on military.com. I'll post it here in the comments section. Check that out. I put a chart in there, and it's basically really close to the maximum height weight standards of the Navy. So, for instance, if you're 6'1", that means you're 73 inches. The maximum weight for the Navy is 206 at 6'1". Now, as long as your body fat is under 20 something percent, you're fine. But that's the max weight of the Navy. And my recommendation for Bud's weight is anywhere between 190 and 205 for that height. 6 feet, 185, 200. 5'10", 175 to 185. So these are just opinions, by the way. And by no means is it a fact that if you're not in those weight classes, you're going to fail. We had a dude that was 6 foot, 150 pounds and crushed it. So it can happen. But he was frozen. I thought I was cold going through buds. I would look at him and say, yeah, I'm not that cold. Look at him. He's just purple. When someone offends, do you kick from the ankle or the whole leg while not locking your knees? Yeah, I don't know. Did you just see me brief the swimming with fins video earlier in this video? You kick using from the hips, so it's the whole legs, slight bend in the knee, and the ankle has to be very flexible. Otherwise, it's not going to work for you. Your ankles should be extended to a point of where it looks like a ballerina. Right? Now, if you can't sit on your shins and lean back and put your butt on your heels, and there's no space in between the ground and your heel, like if your heel's doing this or your ankle's doing this, and you see space underneath the front of your foot and the bottom of your leg, your ankles are not mobile enough. In fact, I actually wrote an article on that. I've written an article on just about all these questions, by the way. In fact, it's on military.com. It's pretty recent. I just wrote it like last week. Improve your flexibility and mobility to learning new workout techniques. So this has to do with not only swimming and treading and swimming with fins, it also has to do with some lifts to add some mobility to it. So check out that article. Very important. And you'll see some stretches in there that are very helpful. Have I ever done a swim with a weight belt? Nope. Scuba dive, obviously, with a weight belt. Never had to swim with a weight belt. Some selection programs do, I think. We had to tread with a weight belt, though, with fins. Had a question earlier. I want to enlist in the Coast Guard PSU. Just wondering when to speak to a recruiter. I would suggest, there is a fitness test to that, and it's very similar to the Navy SEAL one. I think the swim's just a little shorter. So if you do some PST style workouts and you're able to crush that PST, do it. Go talk to a recruiter. You need to be a good swimmer in that school and good PTer and runner as well. All right, a couple more and I got to go. I think I hit all these questions. Let me see. I think I got all these. Let me go down. Who's posting dumb stuff here? We're going to block that user. Let's see. I'm planning on going CCT if I exceed the standards for everything but the swim, which I can for 500. And then should I wait to talk to a recruiter? Why in a hurry? Why do you want to take a chance and not pass that test when you're in the delayed entry program? And if you don't pass it, you're not going to Navy's or Air Force Special Warfare. So I would suggest be in that 9-minute zone, or at least under 10. That's my recommendation. But once again, those are just my opinions and recommendation. You go do what you want, but why be in a hurry? No. Let's see. Would you incorporate sprint work or aerobic on assault bike as non-impact cardio? Absolutely. Assault bikes suck. So hard. 500 watts on that thing will just put you in the hurt locker if you try it for just a couple minutes. Yeah, absolutely. I have really bad mobility in my hips and shoulders that affecting my pull-ups and run. Could definitely will affect your swim and ability to streamline. 6'2", 218, doing 14 pull-ups, 3 miles at 22. Not bad. What should I do to loosen up? Stretching. I would suggest, go on YouTube and look up shoulder mobility exercises and hip mobility exercises. There are countless really good physical therapy level stretches and mobility exercises that you can do, and do them every day. And you will see in 3 weeks a huge difference in your ability to streamline in the water, to tread water, to swim, as well as other exercises too, including pull-ups and perhaps even running. Let's see. I think I got everybody. All right. So there's almost an hour on this thing. So I appreciate your time. You guys can go check out StuSmithFitness.com, save 20%, compete 20 code. Also, I'd recommend if you really need help with the CSS, go to my TikTok page. I do have just as many videos over on Instagram Reels. If you go to my Instagram page, same address, StuSmith50 over there on Instagram. And then, of course, if you're watching this on a YouTube channel, I have probably 500-600 videos on here. A lot of them are podcasts, live Q&A, exercises, but there's probably over 100 little older CSS videos in there, as long as there's swim PT and underwater swim videos. There's quite the library of videos and content on this YouTube channel. So check it out, like it, follow it. I appreciate anything you can do on that level, and subscribe, and that way you'll know when we're on here. So there you go. What is the craziest PST out there? Craziest score? Last question. Craziest score or craziest like challenging PST? I would say a very hard one is the upper body round robin. So you can Google that term. In fact, I'll put it in here, called the upper body round robin. However, oops, screwed that up with all caps. However, let me show you this one. This one's important. I want to show you the NSW PST. A lot of EOD guys use this. SEALs were using it at one point. I'm not sure if they are still using it now. I just got to find the picture of this. Here it is. So check this out. This is a really good test. All right, when I say it's the craziest, it's close to it. All right, you got 8 events. You have, for power, you have the standing long jump. You have pro agility shuttle. That's like 5, 10, 5. Takes less than 5 seconds to do. You have the body weight bench press, and double digits get you in some good points, but 20, that's hard to do. Let me tell you, 20 reps of your body weight, it's pretty hard to do. I did 15 of my body weight 2 weeks ago. And I'm trying to get 20 by the end of the winter. 205. 25-pound pull-ups, deadlift, 1 RM. So you have to do body weight at least, I think body weight times 2 for 1 RM might get you max points. So if you're a 200-pound dude and deadlift 400 pounds, that's good. 300-yard shuttle, that one sucks, right? That's 12 25-yard runs, back and forth. A 3-mile timed run and an 800-meter swim. So when you say crazy PST, is that what you're talking about? That is a hard challenge. Doing that in 1 day is really hard. Doing that in a week is still challenging. But yeah, doing that in a single morning sucks. Yeah, you can Google that. Google NSW physical screen report, scoring and reports, I guess. I'm not sure. Physical screening test. So yeah, that's a good one. I like that one. All right, guys, I got to go. StuSmithFitness.com. Check it out. Save 20%. Compete 2-0. And if you got questions, send them. I'm happy to answer them. Stu at StuSmith.com. We'll see you.